I'm Lorelei Day, here with the city's Water Utilities Director, Allison Struby. Today we're here talking about the water in San Angelo.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. Allison, let's start off with you telling us about the water, the current water supply and where we sit currently.
As of August 1st, we have 52 months of water supply, and this does utilize a worst case scenario. So it includes evaporation as prescribed by Texas Water Development Board for what this region typically experiences as far as evaporation. And then it also assumes a no inflow scenario, so no inflow is coming into any of the reservoirs. It uses 1.5 million gallons of hickory daily in that factor. And so as of August 1st, we're at 52 months of water supply.
Okay. Let's talk about our water resources. What are our primary water sources?
Currently, we are primarily on Lake Ivy. Lake Ivy is at 44%. And so that is our primary supply. That is a reservoir that's owned and operated by Colorado River Municipal Water District, or CRMWD. And we get that source from them. And then we supplement any of the peak demands that we see with the hickory at this time. We are able to bring in Contra River water via Lake Nazareth and Twin Buttes, but right now with evaporation, we are trying to keep the water in those reservoirs as much as possible.
So 2021-22 has been obviously extremely hot and dry. Can you tell us how that's impacted the water supply?
Like I talked about with how we do months of water supply, we factor in evaporation. So evaporation is definitely taking its toll on our reservoirs. For our area, Texas Water Development Board's estimate is 67 inches of water evaporation through that entire year. And so that's roughly 6.5 or 5.6 feet of water being evaporated off of our reservoirs.
All right, so although we do have some water right now, let's talk about conservation and why that's important for everyone to practice that right now.
So San Angelo needs to continually practice conservation, even though the majority of San Angeloans' mindset is to conserve water, because they've been at that 18 and 24 month time frame when we are enacting drought levels. But even though we're at 52 months of water supply, the weather forecast and all of those things are still not favorable for a lot of rain. So we need to be as conservation mindset as possible.
So something you were talking about earlier with Ivy, can you talk about, we're not the only water users that pull from that, and that there are other communities that pull from that? It's a kind of a regional water source.
Okay. San Angelo is not the only water system using water from Lake Ivy. So CRMWD, their member cities are Big Spring, Snyder, and Odessa, but also Midland and Abilene can all pull off Lake Ivy too. So it is our primary source, but it's also a primary source for many other cities in West Texas.
Tell us what point do the drought levels change? What's the deciding factor there?
The drought contingency plan is based off months of water supply. So as of August 1st, we're at 52 months of water supply. But our first drought level, it triggers at 24 months of water supply. The second one is at 18. And the third and final one is at 12 months of water supply. We have been in drought levels, the first two for sure, and almost went into the third one in back of 2011, 2012. But right now, those are the driving factors that put us into the different drought stages. But what San Angelo is always, they're not always in a drought stage, but they're in this stage called standard conservation. So we always limit the amount of watering that can occur, outdoor watering. And so we are always in some sort of mode of operation of conserving water.
So even though we haven't entered the drought stages, it's obviously still vitally important that we conserve water. Talk about some of those ways we can conserve.
There's easy ways around the home that you can conserve water, only running your dishwasher or your washing machine when the load is full or when the machine is full. You could, the tried and true of turning off the water when you're brushing your teeth. Reducing your shower by a minute or two can save a considerable amount of gallons, and also checking for toilet leaks and those type of things. Some customers don't realize how much water can be lost through just a small toilet leak, so always kind of making sure that you're keeping everything up to speed at your home and making sure there's no leaks, and then also just abiding by the outdoor watering schedule, which is, for right now, twice every 7 days at no more than 1 inch per week, and not between the hours of noon and 6 p.m.
So you segued into where I wanted to go next. Why, I think it's obvious, but why do we not want people watering between 12 and 6?
So we restrict the hours from noon to 6 p.m. because that is the hottest part of the day, and we want to make sure that the watering that customers are using for their lawns is effective towards the yard, and so we don't want it to be a loss to evaporation, so that's why we restrict the hours from noon to 6.
All right, so going back to identifying leaks, now some people might not know if they have leaks, but they could see, big spikes in their water bills and not know why. That actually happened to our household recently. So I contacted the water customer service department, and they were actually really helpful there. They took a look at our water bills from the past few months, and they went in, whatever intel they had there.
The metering system?
Yes, that. They went there and they were able to tell me that I had a leak somewhere. So it ended up being a toilet leak, and we had to go in and fix that. So that's something that people can do if you don't know where a leak is.
Correct. So if you call customer service and you think you have a leak or you've seen a spike in your water bill, you can definitely contact them, and they are able to see if that flow is going through at a continuous rate. Typically that's when we see a toilet leak or something like that, something that's kind of leaking 24/7. If you have an irrigation leak, sometimes that's not known until the sprinkler goes off, and sometimes people have them set, in the hours when they're sleeping. And so they can look at the consumption during those times. But yes, if you think you have a leak, you can call customer service, and then they could be able to help pinpoint and maybe kind of hone in where you could make that repair.
So looking to the future, let's talk about what the city's doing to secure some more water sources.
So right now, the city is in the construction process of expanding the Hickory groundwater system. So currently we can pump and treat 8 million gallons from the Hickory Aquifer, and this is located on the Ford Ranch just south of Melvin, Texas. And so we have 20 wells right now. They are in the process of drilling 5 more, as well as adding treatment processes in town and new clear wells. So at the end of this project, which is slated to be completed in the springtime of 2024, we'll be able to pump and treat 12 million gallons from the Hickory Aquifer.
So switching gears to the Concho River Water Project, kind of tell us what that is for people that may not be aware of that, what it is, and what the city hopes to get out of that, and where we are in that process.
In 2018, the council kind of marched forward with the Concho River Water Project as being the next water source for the city. What it does is it upgrades the wastewater treatment facility to meet discharge parameters to release that highly treated water into the Concho River. It would there flow 7.5 to 8 river miles down the main stem of the Concho, where we would take that water back out and pipe it back to the water treatment plant that would also undergo massive amounts of upgrade, and with the latest treatment technologies where it'd be further treated to drinking water standards and then sent out to the citizens through our distribution system. In looking at this process, or in this project, it is supposed to reliably provide 7.5 million gallons of water per day. And both of our treatment plants really need the improvements and upgrades, and so this project addresses both of those big needs.
So that was 2018, so where are we with that project right now?
So there are 2 regulatory permits that have to be issued by Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, or TCEQ, and both of those applications for those permits have been submitted and are working through the regulatory process.
Moving back to the city's water plant, now we know it's more than 100 years old. Are there plans to update that one or build a new one?
With the Hickory expansion project, we are updating the clear wells, and the clear well is what holds the treated chlorinated water ready to go out to the city's distribution system. And that, with our existing plant, is one of the oldest structures that we have, and it is definitely in need of repair or replacement in this instance. So with the Hickory expansion project, we are constructing those, and those would be online in the spring of 2024.
So a lot of the cost, for instance, in the Contra River Water Project is dedicated towards the water plants. Is that right? Is that kind of how that was built in?
Correct. I think the estimates back in 2018 were $120 million for the entire project, but close to $90 million of that project was just to the plant upgrades, which would be cost bore by the city even if we weren't doing that project.
Okay, so switching gears to some other projects. So let's talk about the Lake Nasworthy Sewer Project.
So the Lake Nasworthy area has kind of a piecemeal sewer system that has reached its capacity, and so development and those type of things really can't occur on the south side of Lake Nasworthy or in the airport area. So the goal of this project is to redo the sewer line that sends sewer from the south side across the lake. So put it in a new pipe. But also to increase the capacity so that development can occur at the airport and Lake Nasworthy area, and that we can have a better functioning system. Ultimately, this project will provide sewer kind of through the backbone of San Angelo that hasn't historically been served by the San Angelo sewer system. And so hopefully in the future we can expand that system to be able to service more people.
Okay, so where are we at with that project now? What's the update?
Right, so we're in final design, and that those plans are set to be delivered to the city by November. And so we would either start the procurement or the construction bidding either late this year or the first part of 2023.
We have a lot of street projects going on right now, and a big part of several of those projects is relocating water lines and sewer lines. Can you tell us why that's so important to do?
College Hills, for one, is where we're replacing all the water and sewer infrastructure underneath that street. One, they've reached their useful life. If you've driven down College Hills, it was a very bumpy road, and a lot of that is due to water main breaks. Sewer, we don't have as much of problems because it's not a pressurized system, it's a gravity-fed system, but it still needs to be replaced nonetheless. But we are replacing those water lines so that when we do build that new street and sidewalk and everything in that area, we're not repairing that street due to water main failures or anything like that. But it's also, even though the street is getting done, we're also moving forward with replacing the old infrastructure for water and sewer that we have in the city system.
For more information, visit our website.